my girlfriend at the time, and I went camping 5 hours away from home for her birthday/our anniversary. We made the trip the day after a big storm passed through. We left town early and got there in the early afternoon. The guy at the entrance to the campgrounds mentioned there was no one else staying there that weekend. We were like, oh, this is going to be sick. First, we drove down these long pathways to our designated area. As you got closer to it, the road narrowed, so basically, you had to back out to get out. We unloaded the car, got the tent set up, and decided to go walk around the woods. It was dead silent, but it was still bright out, so we just took in all the nature we could and walked a few miles away. We reached this point in the woods where there were some weird-looking white cabins. They were very uniform, all built the exact same way, like I guess they were a part of the camping grounds, but they seemed way out of the way and there was no sign of life. It felt eerie to be at, like we shouldn't be there. So we turned around and walked back. We took a breather in the tent, then tried to start a fire in the fire pit. Unfortunately, neither of us had ever been camping before and had no idea how to start a fire. We had bought some of those self-lighting logs from Walmart and some lighter fluid, but everything else around us was soaked to the bone from the rain that had passed through the day before. We knew we needed kindling of some sort, but any dry sticks or leaves was far and few between. Eventually, we got a small fire going and ate hot dogs and marshmallows and spent some time looking at the stars. Then we noticed just how dark it was out there. My girlfriend was easily spooked and was like, can we get into the tent now? So we put the fire out and crawled into the tent. We were talking to each other, but I could tell she was tense. Suddenly, she put her hand over my mouth and was like, "Shh, do you hear that?" Before I could respond, we heard footsteps, like heavy footsteps. It sounded like a group of people walking. I whispered to her, "It's probably just animals or something." Then we heard mumbling, like low mumbling. We couldn't make out words, but it didn't sound like a sound an animal could make. It sounded like words, but hushed and non-elaborated. We sat in silence, staring at each other in the dark for what felt like forever. The mumbling got louder, as did the footsteps, until it sounded like it was right outside of our tent. We both froze. I don't think either of us were breathing. And then, silence. We waited, and waited, and waited. I'm still not sure how much time passed. Eventually, my girlfriend said, "We have to get to your car." The adrenaline was pumping, so I peeked out of the tent into the darkness and told her to stay behind me. Then we ran to the car. I locked the doors, and she was like, "What the fuck was that? We can't stay here. No one is out here but us. What was that?" I kept looking around for any signs of life, but we were seemingly alone. I looked at her and was like, "Okay, I'm going to grab our stuff. You stay in the car." We only had our ice chest and our tent out. I hopped out and ran, grabbed our ice chest, tossed it into the back seat. As I turned around to go get the tent, I started hearing footsteps closing in again. In a moment of pure terror, I yanked the tent out of the ground, wrapped the tarp around it, and slung it over my shoulder like some panicked Santa Claus and shoved it into the trunk. I didn't say anything when I got in the car except, "Do we have everything in here?" My girlfriend said yes, and I floored it in reverse out of our camping area. Then we came to a fork in the road that went in like 6 different directions. I asked my girlfriend if she remembered which path we came down to get in here, and she told me she didn't know. We chose a random one and ended up in a different camping spot. I cursed under my breath and slammed it into reverse again. Then I noticed from the angle we had exited from, I could see the main path back to the gate, thanks to a small sign behind an overgrown bush. As we hightailed it out of there, I noticed there was a single small green light out in the woods to our right, near where our designated spot was. We drove the entire 5 hours back to our hometown and fell asleep on my girlfriend's parents' couch at around 4 a.m. We never talked about the trip ever again, and I haven't had any desire to camp since LOL. When I was in high school, my friends and I went out to a really remote spot in the mountains to camp. Just to get there, you needed a pretty serious off-roader. It was about 30 miles up a super rough road. There were river crossings, huge boulders in the road, and tons of sand pits. This road took us all day. And all day we didn't see a single other person. No one passed us. We didn't see anyone camping, nothing. At one point, one of my friends noted it looked like no one had even driven on the road in a while, which was weird because this was in Colorado and roads/trails like this are really popular. Something worth pointing out, this road led into a box canyon, which is basically nature's cul-de-sac. The road we were on was the only road in and the only road out. All around us was massive cliffs. And another thing, we were deep in the mountains, far from any cell service. On top of that, we were in a box canyon, which even if you're next to a city, never has service. All that said, we eventually got to the spot and set up camp. Every time we went camping, we played Capture the Flag. This trip was no exception. We waited for it to get dark, then started. In the middle of the second round, me and one of my friends on my team hop up on the road, which ran parallel to area we were playing in. It seemed like a good way to get around to the other flag. Walking down road, we began to see a glow coming towards us. Our first thought was, it's another 4x4 coming towards us. But as it got closer, we realized it was a young woman holding up her phone looking for service. She was still at a distance, but we could tell she was panicky. She was rushing and stumbling at the same time. She didn't seem drunk. It was weird. We called out, "Hello?" No response, but it wasn't just that she ignored us. It was more like she didn't even realize we were there. We tried again. "You okay?" Nothing. As she's passing us, we realize she's crying. Again, "You okay?" She stumbles right past us, never showing a single sign that she saw us. The whole time, just looking at her phone for service, my friend and I are frozen. We watch her go, still stumbling, still crying. She rounded a turn, then disappeared. I yell out to everyone else to meet back at camp. We do. I tell them what we saw. And I'm not proud to admit this because it seemed like she needed help, but we got creeped out. We said we'd stay in camp that night, and in the morning, we'd go looking. The first thing we do in the mornings, decide there must be some other people camped down the road. They must know her. So we go down to the end of the road. There's no sign of anyone. Then we decided to go to the entrance of the road and look for the woman. So we drive to the entrance, which took all day. Nothing. I still feel guilty for not trying harder to help her. But thinking about how she got in that position, it just doesn't make sense. She didn't look like a hiker. She had on regular jeans and a sweater. If she had gotten in the canyon from the other side, it would require a very technical descent. She would have needed gear, and she didn't even have a backpack. We were pretty sure we were the only ones that had driven down that road in a while, so it's not like someone dropped her off or left her. And the whole time we saw her, she was holding up her phone looking for service. If she knew the area at all, she would know there was no way she was going to find service. I don't know what to make of it. But I do know that the image of that woman stumbling in the dark, crying, has been seared in my brain ever since.